providing information? We want to work hard for you as a panel. Are we providing useful information? Are we headed in the right direction, more or less? Satisfied? And let's now fill in the gaps. Don't raise your hand if you're 100% satisfied. Yeah, that works. And so now we want to fill in the gaps. Maybe there are particular questions you have for our panelists or things that are on your mind. Anything that anybody wanted to pop up for the panel?
This is, I guess, a very basic question. I'm just curious, I guess, for Danny, Adrian, how do you guys use Twitter and Facebook differently, and what purpose do they serve differently, and which one would you say is more effective for you?
I mean, for Facebook and Twitter, we use it the same thing. Every single day when we have actual new deals go out, we post a feed on Facebook, which sounds easy goes out to Twitter. I think the main thing for Facebook is, a little bit off topic, is that we really have to stay transparent as a brand. What that means is basically engaging certainly, but staying transparent, being very personalized towards your audiences. Right now we basically have a very big following of 360,000 fans in Hong Kong. So when something happens, that's actually our first area in which we will give the information to is our Facebook fans, because we know that's the fastest way to reach our fans. In terms of how we use it, in terms of Facebook and Twitter, we use it the same way.
In terms of those platforms, whether it be like a social network site like Facebook or other players like Remnant versus the micro-blogging sites, they're two different audiences. When we look into that, whether it be Weibo or Twitter, we find those people are a lot more loyal to us. They actually know us as a brand. They really want to have a deep engagement. So the content we put there is a lot more frequent. In a place like China, I do this 5 times a day. It's in there, and we provide stuff around products, events, news. So a lot more stuff that you wouldn't do on Facebook. On Facebook, we keep that a little more high level, where these people maybe just learned about us. It's very easy to just click like a fan page. So the content is not as deep. Yet we do draw more mass market type of content. We do also use it as a platform to do branding. So our hero products, we actually highlight that on a regular basis every month. So it's a way for consumers to slowly learn about our brand. Whereas on Twitter, people actually know us and they want to know, okay, when's the next shoe coming out, who's the designer, what do they do, how do they do it. And we can stream that a lot more frequently. The other thing on Facebook is actually managing how we put the content, because we've got things like seasonal greeting, Happy New Year, Chinese New Year, all these things where, I think consumers want to also hear from us, but not just about our products, but they want to hear about us in terms of our attitude as a brand. So, and that's quite different on Facebook, because there's opportunity. If they like us, we just ran a Happy Valentine's campaign 2 days ago, yesterday, and that gets a lot of attraction, because not only do you see it if you're a fan of us, but then when they post it up, a lot of their friends see it as well. So I think the viral effect on Facebook is a lot more viral for us. So content you need to put there needs to be very different.
Okay. Other questions or comments?
Quite a lot of what we've been talking about is consumer-driven activity. And in the B2B space, one of the things that's been talked about recently is the power of LinkedIn. Can you give us some guidance on how we should use LinkedIn more powerfully?
Okay. Yeah.
I think one of the advantages that LinkedIn provides is targeting, much better targeting from a B2B perspective. And particularly, for a long time, LinkedIn was sort of thought of places where you went to find a job. But that's actually changing quite a bit. And from our perspective, we're finding a lot of very active discussion boards, particularly on either industry vertical topics or trade topics. So we're looking at using LinkedIn in 2 different ways. One is targeting and being able to really reach small businesses. Small and medium businesses tends to be a very effective channel for doing that. And the other one is to provide experts to engage in those topics and discussions on LinkedIn, where they're asking specific questions that are relevant to what they might be doing on Alibaba. So I think LinkedIn is a bit of a sleeper when it comes to social media, because a lot of people don't think of it And I do think that there's some more work that LinkedIn can do to make it easier to actually use and get involved with the discussion from a business perspective on LinkedIn. But I mainly think that the value in LinkedIn is that ability to jump in on very relevant discussions and establish yourself in a very credible way very quickly by being a part of the discussions. Whereas number two, I think, would be the targeting aspect, because that's still sort of in the works, I guess, at this point. So use, and even furthermore, use it to build your own community, I think, would be the most powerful tool. If you can actually establish a discussion group of your own in your particular space, would be the most powerful way to use LinkedIn, and that's something that we're still working on and trying to figure out how to do well.
I think LinkedIn is still a lot of talent acquisition, especially if we speak about the digital marketing per se, because I don't believe we will find a lot of digital marketers with an ad in a good old newspaper. So we have a dedicated HR team actually working on nothing else than LinkedIn and talent acquisition. And you might think bigger brands or corporates, they don't really have anyone following up on these kind of activities and networks, and they only have some headhunters. That's completely not right. I guess we have one lady, I think it's my colleague, she's sitting right now in London at the Social Media Week and talking about the digital CV and literally how we engage with people who like to work for us, or also, you know, who have perhaps some experience they want to share with us. So I guess it is definitely you find a lot of information, topics, focus groups, and so on, but also a lot of digital acquisition is going on in LinkedIn.
I was just going to add from a consumer perspective, it's a bit of a nightmare for me because, you know, when something goes wrong in one of my stores, the first thing they do is go to LinkedIn, look up who's the head of marketing in the region.
And I checked before, and he really has no fans on that. I mean, for myself personally, I think LinkedIn is really awesome actually, because we're always looking for talent, and I myself use LinkedIn as a recruitment channel. So a lot of times, I'll do like a advanced search and have a premium account, and I'll send messages privately to people I see that fits my profile that I'm looking for. Other times I'll also reach out to other marketers or other brands that I want to work with. Basically making the LinkedIn introduction is much more easy, and basically you're able to find people. I mean, the search criteria is very good, so it's a very personalized approach to making contacts and networking.
This has been a very happy conversation, and so I'm very positive, and we all think that Best Commerce is great. So let's go to the negative for a little while. We've seen, in my role at the Asia Digital Marketing Association, I'm always saying to companies, give it a try. It's scalable. You can send out 2,000 messages, and if they're working, you can send out 10,000, or you can join conversations and get out there and be engaged and learn in real time and use own earned and paid media and all this kind of stuff. But it can go terribly wrong, right? It's easy for me to say that, but then if you're like Qantas Airlines in the middle of your labor problems and you start a site called Qantas Luxury and ask people to talk about what their definition of luxury is, and everybody jumps on and says, why are you talking about spending lots of money at the same time that you're cutting costs and cutting jobs? And it becomes, an open platform, free-for-all for people to, bitch about Qantas and the company and the brand. There is a dark side to this, right? And there are some dangers about being out there. So could I just, I'll open to the panel, or everyone to jump on this, but what are some of the areas of concern that businesses in this area should have, and do you have any tips about how to stay out of trouble?
Kind of pointed the dark side. So before I took on the head of marketing role, I was the head of communications for Alibaba.com, for global communications. So I'm certainly very familiar with the dark side from many different angles. And however, I personally think that the dark side is also the light side. And the reason I say that is because we are a controversial company, and because we are a Chinese company, there's a lot of misconceptions, I would say, about that. And we tend to get targeted fairly easily, particularly on Facebook. Two particular examples that I can give you is we have had pretty aggressive and sometimes turning violent animal rights protesters on our site who have, threatened to come to our events and injure people, including me, and things like that during the process. But what ended up happening is actually we banned a lot of the things that they were complaining about. But because of the number, we have tens of millions of products posted on our site every day, and sometimes they get missed by the filters. There's lots of ways that people use to avoid them. So the fact that we had these aggressive protesters gave us the opportunity to come back and say, actually, you're right. We shouldn't be listing these products. They're banned from our site, and we're removing them. And help us if you ever find more. Here's where you can report it, and we can take it down immediately. So it gave us an opportunity to really push forward our platform on protection for things like shark fin, which has been banned since 2009, and bare bile products and other highly controversial products. So it's turning a negative into a positive. Another example is stolen photos. It's a common issue on e-commerce sites where people will scrape other people's sites for photos and then put them on our site. And it's not actually just an issue for Alibaba.com, it's an issue for any e-commerce marketplace. Because this is such a widespread issue, and people automatically assume that we're somehow endorsing this practice, which we're actually not. But what it does give us the opportunity to is explain how they can actually protect the photos on their own site. Because if they're on our site, they're actually on a lot of other sites too. It's something where people will go and they'll scrape sites for photos and they'll put them on multiple sites. And there's very little that we can do to prevent them from using those photos. It's much easier to prevent them from being scraped. So we can use this as a platform again to help educate people. E-commerce is still relatively new in the world of commerce. So there's a lot that people may not understand, particularly small businesses, about how you need to protect your own assets on your own website to avoid them being used in other places. So again, it gives us an opportunity, I think, a negative into a positive, where there's a lot of controversy where people are saying, you're a Chinese company, you're just trying to steal our IP. It's actually, no, we're not only are we not trying to steal your IP, but we're actually trying to help you understand how to protect it from anyone in the world who might be trying to use your photos or your products differently. So again, it's all about education. I think those negatives have turned, maybe not completely and totally positive, but they've given us a voice and an opportunity to explain what our position